we are just going to start with a little, little prelude, or before we get into the main presentation, is that we were really excited when Bharat Floorings approached us and said they wanted to do this entire, uh, process of getting the mood board or a concept of a mood board, or even putting it out as a competition and seeing what comes out of it. And I think with all their earlier exercises that they've conducted using the tile design and the tabletop design, which has got some amazing response and some amazing designs that have come across, which we've seen on their stories and on their feed. I think this was a great idea to put across a competition, not a competition, but a sort of an entry for a mood board, which we as a practice have been and still believe in as like the first uh, part of getting this entire design or your entire concept out to the client before you start working on a project, or when your project comes, it becomes a very good platform to sort of have an interaction. So we made a little presentation and then we'll come to the brief of what the whole exercise is all about. But we'll just start the presentation right now and then we'll take it as it goes. So just sharing the screen.
Yeah, basically, before we jump to the exercise that we're talking about, we wanted to go back and, take a step back as to, why do you mood board, or how do you mood board? What is the entire intent of it? And, is it sometimes you just end up taking a few images and then that's it. You just, it's like this first page of your presentation that stays there till the end. But, you may not, or you don't kind of go back to it. Is that really the way of mood boarding, or is there much more meaning to mood boarding? So we just want to do a little bit of back talking on really why, how, and we are happy to answer questions later on that same.
So what is mood boarding? So when we talk about mood boards does not necessarily have to mean a particular thing. It is an expression of emotions. So it could be a mood board of emotions. So if I'm talking to someone and say, this is how I feel this room should be, or this space should be, or if a client comes to you and says that, I want to design my house to be something that defines my personality. So what are the moods that you can design or express that entire mood board in? That could be one idea. The other idea could be where you're talking about something specific. It could be a color palette, which revolves around something. For example, natural material, greens, and you want it to be a green theme. And it becomes, so if you tell a client that, I want a green theme and I want to make your house green, they'll probably say you're stupid. I don't want a green house. But then if you show a mood board like this saying that this is how I want the green to come across, they'll probably really understand what you're talking about. So, and it can extend to textures or something very specific to something very minute. So a mood board like this could be put up across to discuss with the client and with the material vendor or the product that you're designing as to how you can really get into the nitty-gritties of the fine element, the texture of the fabric, the yarn that you're choosing. So a mood board can go across from something very broad to something very specific. As in this case, it is, let's say, it's just a living room where I want to talk about, I just want a very tan or a very white, neutral kind of a modern, boho chic kind of an apartment. And these are some of the things that I would accessorize the house with. So the minute I show something like this, the client has an idea that, oh, you know what, he's talking about a very doodle kind of an art, or a very cane kind of furniture, a mix of metal and lightweight furniture. So that really sets a good tone.
And then specifics to materials, like more details. So what, even though we've shown you a bunch of examples here, what we really feel strongly is that you should be mood boarding at every stage of your project. And each stage you start with the most abstract version of the mood board, which is, your concept or your starting point for any project. And then you keep evolving, keep developing, keep layering on that mood board, and you'll probably end up with, 10 mood boards for a project. Do not forget that the first one was still where you started, and then you keep adding and layering, and you also evolve. Sometimes things get deducted, but new things get added. But the entire crux needs to remain the same.
It's actually really funny that, when we have a mood board that is, when we present a mood board, we have changed some ideas in the mood board, or when we put the mood board together, we really realize that it doesn't really work well, or the entire scheme or the initial idea doesn't really work well. But it's a very quick way of putting this across. Mood board and material board can be the same thing. It can also
it can also just be an evolution, of your
a
design.
material board is very specific to a material. A mood board is a more elaborate overall picture. Like, it's the first point of a discussion between you and your client, or you with yourself with respect to the project.
So for any project, when you start design, whether it is interior design, whether it's architecture, whether it is a product, pretty much any problem solving thing goes through this cycle where you have to ask these questions, to yourself, to the entire team, as well as to the client. Who are you doing this for? What is the problem? How are you planning to solve it? And the biggest question really is why. Why are you doing it? So the same thing also goes to a smaller level, to a mood board. When you're starting, you're basically empathizing, you're defining the problem. Then you're going into the whole ideation of a project as to when you found out why or what the requirements of the project were, or the client was, how do you sort of go into ideation? And then you go and experiment and you make examples of prototyping. The prototyping and testing can be another individual circle. And once you feel that that is working, you'll realize that all your questions of your empathize and define actually got answered. So, this entire process is really, for us, we feel that initially you are doing a whole lot of story listening, you're doing a whole lot of storyboarding, and then you are doing a whole lot of storytelling with your designs. So this entire process, a mood board is a really important tool, which helps in the first aspect of empathize that you see here, as to who are you solving this for, or what is the problem, and how are you going to figure this out, or what is your bigger solution.
So let's get to the what and the why, or why are the mood boards very important. So the first point is that, you want to collect your thoughts and your ideas. When we mean collect thoughts and ideas, whenever you're getting a project, or if it's in a college, you're getting a brief or anything, or if it's a client who gives you. The minute they start talking about the project, there are these bunch of these ideas that come to your mind. So first and foremost, this is a place where you can get all those ideas and put them together. With Pinterest and Instagram, which is used so rampantly by us, by designers, by clients, they will be sending you pictures, but don't worry, use them and learn to abuse them at the same time. I mean, if they send you something which does not work with it, then you use their image and make a mood board which shows that probably doesn't really work. So you can use that to your advantage. You can use it to different color schemes. So the most important part is when you start putting a concept, you really want to know what kind of a house it is. Is it mini house? Is it a brand new house, or is it a earthy color tone, or is it, what is the theme of the house? Somebody is saying that a presentation needs to be on a bigger screen. I mean, we are on a full screen, so I don't know how that is, but let me try again. Komal, is this? Can you see our presentation as a full screen, or?
Yeah, I can see.
I think you need to do it on their
Right
screen.
now your presentation is
Maybe if they double tap it, it will be a full screen, but yeah.
Right now I can't see your presentation.
Okay, so we'll just continue. So then comes the describing and ascribing the moods. Like we said, that's the whole idea of storytelling, is when you tell the client is what is the kind of mood that you're trying to generate. So when you design a house or an interior space, the choice of the material and the color and your ideas together ascribes a certain mood of that house. is it a dreamy space, or when I enter into the bedroom, I really want it to feel like the first rays of the morning sun, or a valley of flowers, or my entire color combination sort of revolves. So you're using pictures to define or to express the mood that you are creating for that particular space. Next is to define a coherent design concept. So whether it is, so putting all these together, sort of binds it into a design concept. So now you're talking about your sketches, or if it's a specific material, or if you say, I want to use an Italian marble or a rough Kota stone, and now you're adding onto it.
Also, a lot of the times, if it's a house or if it's a restaurant or any other, retail store, a lot of the clients will come with some aspects of the brief,
Yeah.
or they'll say, oh, I think I want, this style, or a Goan looking house, or I'm just giving names here, but, they know one or two words that they kind of like, or one or two imagery that they like, but they cannot develop the entire board. So that's how your idea or your job as a designer is to sort of put that whole thing together in a much more coherent scheme. Obviously taking their brief into account, but also putting it together as a holistic approach. So that's what the mood board will help you do, is to really define that vibe of the space. A lot of the times it's easy because the clients know, or that it's going to be a specific style. If it's going to be traditional, if it's going to be classical, if it's going to be art deco, then it's definitely much easier. But sometimes you're not really sure what that style is going to be, and it sort of gets developed during this mood board process.
So you do this to avoid the sight of the bigger picture, in the sense your entire mood board is you don't want to lose sight of what your final outcome is to be. So putting it together, adding, you elaborate on your mood board over a period of time. You add materials, you go back to your mood board and see the color palette, which helps you select your fabric. You go back to your mood board, it helps you select your veneer. So what happens is every time you show, as your design proceeds ahead, you use the mood board as the benchmark, and then when you present the material, you can say them, what, this was the mood board based on this color palette that we all love. This is the best material board, or the material that is generated. In the end, it's the entire process is so that we have the right end product. We want to get or show what we really meant, or in a nutshell, because sometimes clients do not understand the bigger picture. We use softwares and 3D views and everything, but most important is the first parameter, which is your mood boarding.
So we're just going to show you all a couple of examples of our projects, and how we sort of came up with some basic mood board. We're going to probably show you a couple of levels ahead of how the final mood board was developed, and then how it sort of translated into the design. We'll give you a very brief description. This was a residence for a client who was very interested in Vastu and the entire elements of nature. And so we actually took that as the strongest point of the design. And the 5 elements, that is your space, air, fire, earth, and water, those were considered right from the beginning and till the end of the project. They were kind of driving force for the project. So you see, the mood board here kind of shows you a bunch of elements where you can see the natural elements. You can see how that was converted into, the color scheme, a little bit of the natural aspect, the biophilia that we discussed, with the client, that, greenery will be a huge aspect, a little bit on the style, like it also shows you that, it's going to be a little modern contemporary. It was not moving towards a very fusion or a very classic style in this case. So even though Vastu and, the spiritual intent was there, but the design was still going to be a contemporary modern style with clean lines. And there was this whole introduction of color. So if you see the yellow and the blue and, a little bit of warm sunlight colors, those were initially there with a backdrop of a neutral palette. So pretty much from this one image, you can have a hour's worth of discussion with the client on the entire palette that he may agree. So these are very important tools that you want to sort of keep developing and retain and move on.
So when we moved ahead, we used some of the, we got into a little bit of a specificity. Like we wanted the material to be minimal, straight line. We wanted to show textures. We wanted art to follow a certain theme. If you saw the previous slide and this slide, we really loved this one lamp, and we said that we wanted this lamp because the light pattern that will generate would remind you of a starry night. And so that was something that we wanted. So we kept hammering this light till we really got that light also. So we're really excited. But the whole aspect is that a process of overlaying and moving ahead with the mood board really helps in conveying or achieving your end product, which we just show some of the pictures of how it turned to be, where you have furniture which is clean straight lines, you have textured walls.
So this was the living room kind of came into the the spacey zone. If you see the right side, if you see the textures, they were actually generated from the entire space concept.
Yeah.
And so it has this entire rough finish with pointy edges. Then the art that was up front was also actually a part of the entire mechanical art, which was a sort of the client's profession. He was into windmills and he was also into agriculture. So if you see the art right from the beginning, and the concept was generated early on with the 5 elements of nature being kept in mind. And then as we kept moving forward, it actually developed deeper into the brief. So what you do realize is that your mood board then turns into very subtle elements of design. It doesn't have to be hammered directly onto the head eventually. I mean, the idea is that it plays as a storytelling experience for the space. So if you see this entire backdrop here with the art being focused, or the fabrics which were already discussed earlier on, that we wanted to use these cottony textures, very lightweight, giving this particular room the whole earthy feeling. So if you see, in the end, that was what was generated, and very modern and simple way, without being very traditional in nature or anything of that sort. So that was very clear from the beginning. Again, the colors is what was defined early on in the mood board. So we were sure that the mustard and that little bluish shade was going to be there as part of the room.
Right. So we'll give another example of how different is. This is a commercial project. It's a restaurant that we had done a few years back in Ahmedabad. So the client came to us and said that we want. It's a chef. It was a chef-driven restaurant. So his entire theme was it's going to be fresh, organic produce, true to its nature, and really, how he would, make his food and present it, which sort of, you eat, and when every bite you can really feel the flavor of what you are really, what really went behind it. So that was a driving concept for us to get the design of this entire thing. So we wanted it to be fresh, natural, with a very wabi-sabi sort of a feeling. So textured, unfinished textured concrete walls. We wanted the art also not, which is more of a hand done art. So it's done by an artist. We wanted the traditional elements of the space, or Ahmedabad, which is famous with the tie and dye. So we wanted some element of the bandhani patterns or something that comes with it. The true element of the true use of material like bricks and exposed bricks, and a lot of greens. So whenever you have greens, you really relate it to a very natural, a very open feel to it. So we went ahead with this concept, and then when we presented this in a nutshell is where we said in specificity that we wanted an art commission by a fabric designer, Shivani Shroff. So we wanted that to be the backdrop within the arch, or somewhere in the space. And this was the color palette which came from their logo, which was an X, which you see above the name or that logo that we had. We worked with Bharat Floorings, where they came with their bandhani pattern, which was the Indian design origin series, which worked really well. So based on this mood board, we then generated 3D views I'm sorry.
Also, like, see, it's very different when you do mood boards for residential clients versus, restaurant and commercial clients. A lot of the times, residential clients may not be interested in your mood boards. They'll say, show me the 3D, show me the planning. But what happens is those mood boards are really a lot more for you as a designer and as a team to keep driving back and developing on it, sort of to keep going back to the initial stage. But in the case of a restaurant or a commercial project, in fact, these mood boards can come in handy for a lot of other things. Like later on, the client can use them for graphics, for their branding, for their marketing. So there is a lot of stuff that can be actually generated from the original mood boards in a restaurant project, and, you include your food, your cutlery, a lot more things could go into it. The entire vibe of a restaurant can show up in the initial few mood boarding images that you would do. So it's actually pretty important for a commercial space.
So we developed some of the 3D views for the space to then explain the client what we really meant by the mood boards that we generated. And these are the final pictures of the project, from similar, almost same or similar expression, the use of plants, the true nature of using the ply in its open form, the material, the color aspect, and the textures, which were not, so the whole idea is that there's nothing of an overlay. If there is something which is not right, it is there. It's exposed. It's neat. It's natural. So we are not trying to hide anything that has gone wrong, but let it be there. Let it be exposed. And that was the entire idea. And I think that really worked well with the entire the cuisine and everything that was that came across.
And sometimes you end up with a client who can actually get the entire space's vibe from that one image of yours, and he can actually get it. So definitely it's a hit or a miss, but you can end up with clients who can actually understand, oh, I get your design.
Yeah, but on the contrary, like Shilpa was saying that nowadays everyone wants a 3D view, but trust me, if you share more mood boards, then they'll definitely not even need a 3D view. But if you show them only one 3D view, you waste so much time and effort in doing that one 3D view. But when you go to the client and show the 3D view, they'll say, "Aur kuch option hai kya?" And then you'll be like, "Oh my God, I have to go back and get doing so much more mehnat on it." So the point is, when you do a mood board or a mood board presentation, give them 5 options. They'll get so confused. They'll come back to you and say, "Only okay, you tell us what's the best option," and that is where you can nail it, and you can say, "You know what, this is what will work well." So it sort of works win-win for everyone. So we're gonna now. So this was a little brief idea of how we go about, or how we have gone about, what our idea of mood boards are and how we went across. So now in collaboration with Bharat Flooring, what we came up with this brief or this idea for you all to work on, or put across a mood board on what this needs to be.
So what we're doing is we're leaving a lot of room for thought for y'all. We're not putting too many limitations to the brief. What we've talked about is basically, in the current situation, everybody knows that, everyone's working from home. We would love to have this sort of a outhouse kind of a space, which is, part of your house, but a little detached. So you can call it like an outhouse room. We've given the dimensions. It's kind of an extension in this case to a 2-bedroom bungalow on the ground floor with a green lawn and trees around. Let's say that the owner here is basically a couple in their late 30s. They're a working couple, both of them entrepreneurs, maybe doing their own thing. They have a 10-year-old son. Obviously, the function of this house majorly is for work from home. Now, how else you want to use this space is really up to you, depending on the profile of how you profile this couple and theirs. Because what's very important in a mood board is really the questions that you may have generated to the client and then how you interpreted it in your mood board.
Yeah.
So that's why we are leaving the profile of the client open here. It's going to be your own, sort of discussion. And the other thing that's sort of left open-ended is the location of this bungalow. you want this bungalow. It could be in Juhu, it could be in Lonavala, it could be in Bangalore, it could be in the Himalayas, wherever. So that's your choice. Yeah.
Okay. It needs to be on Earth, guys, not in space. Okay.
And yeah, the dimensions, we've given a very simple space right now, which is an 18 feet by 12 feet width space. The height is up to you. The roof or the shape of the roof or the height is really up to you, because this is a mood boarding exercises. We don't want to get into the nitty gritty of, the architecture of the space. Again, we're leaving that look to you, so that's kept open ended.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do is we are going to just show you a take of this space the way we have done it, just the mood board aspect of it, so that, you get an idea of how we went about it. Definitely, you will need to go about it in different ways. It's got to be unique. It cannot be the same. So let's just,
yeah.
try.
But the whole idea that we wanted to show you was that actually we got so serious with that entire brief that we gave Bharat Flooring that we said, you know what, we'll only make a mood board for ourselves. And we got so kicked out about it that we really had fun doing this, through the entire process. So we said first, before we see something, let us do something. So we said, okay, if we were doing this competition, or if anyone had to do that, what's the first thing that they would do in the process is to identify and profile your client. Now, I'm not saying this in a very derogatory manner. We're just saying that identify what the client needs or what it feels like. Or in a real life situation, you will have a client who will say that, "Arey, mujhe pink pasand hai." But here you profile your client and say, what do they need? That will give you a first benchmark. Then you ascribe the moods or the distinguishing characters of the space. Either it's a location, like Shilpa was saying, it's anywhere. So, but give it a location. Maybe it could, it could affect the interior design space of it. Who knows? But ascribing some certain qualities like location and moods really help you to generate what you really want it to be.
Also, I think the quality and the characters is also of your client. What kind of a person they are. Do they love reading? Are they more introvert? Do they like socializing? Is their job going to have them bring in a lot of people? Or, is it going to be a loner kind of a thing where they just keep working by themselves? So you need to profile that yourself.
The color palette, which will set the tone or, will define the first few entire parameters, and the materials, the texture, finishes, quality, whether is it a rustic, is it really finished, is it a very classy, whether it's Victorian, whether it is earthy, the choice is yours. And we always like this. We love this. We tell this to our staff all the time. We do this for every presentation of ours, that use some words that define the client's lifestyle or what you're expressing. And sometimes, just hammering those words in and putting those words in, it just resonates with the client, and they, start nodding. The minute the client starts nodding in a presentation means, okay, they're getting what you're trying to say, which means it's a good start. So, then it really gets the ball rolling.
Yeah. Don't worry, you will definitely get the poker face ones where they will not give you a single reaction for the entire 2 hours, and you'll be like waiting for the next 5 days. Or don't know what happened.
So here's the process that we went with. So we defined our profile, which almost looks like what we profiled ourselves, but we wanted our space to be like something like us, like a little boho chic, agile, color pop, color working, multifunctional, fresh, biophilia, flexible, airy. So these were the words that we said, this is something that relates to us. We wanted a space that defines this.
So, so in this case, we really said that what the space is going to do is it's not going to be a workspace. We're not going to call it a workspace. It is going to be a space that is going to be live, work, play, chill, relax. Pretty much it is almost like a studio space in this case, the concept that we have driven out here. So you see this entire thing developing in the mood board, the way all the functions of the space sort of come out. So, imagine we asked all these questions to the client, and based on these answers, these were the requirements that sort of came out.
So what we thought was we'll work on a background. It's not always important to have a background. You can have a neutral background and just put pictures in there. It's up to you. It's your choice. But we said, okay, you know what, let's if this is a different way of expressing the entire architecture slash design of it, and then we layer the whole thing ahead, and then what would happen? So we gave it a background. We said, okay, you know what, there are some arches, it looks very modern, it has a mezzanine to it, and maybe it has some color fun aspects to it.
So you start defining the vibe of the space basically based on the client interaction, that okay, in this case we wanted to be this airy kind of a space. You know, it's inspired a little bit from your natural little boho-ish art deco inspired space, but you still want it to be a very casual warm space. So that's the brief that we are sort of heading towards, you know. So the backdrop is going to be very neutral, and then you start creating layers.
Then we said, okay, why don't we just put the colors that we really love with this entire neutral beige-ish color palette. We wanted to use a coral pink. We wanted to have a pastelish blue and a green, and we said, okay, that will work really well with the entire this thing. And then we said, you know what, let's use the material. So in the material, we wanted a dominant mustard color, a veneer which is a muted gray beige or a greige. And we wanted to use Bharat flooring tile in a very dominant manner in a space that we would want to end up being seen all the time with a terrazzo mix flooring in most locations. And then we said, let's show some examples of, okay, there is some grids happening, there is some fabric or art.
So you realize that we are already moving from mood boarding to material boarding here, you know. So
and you're overlaying it.
You're sort of overlaying it.
So what does it express? Or, you know, rustic, luxury, boho chic. So now when I put a material board over here and we put these material in, it sort of starts giving you an example of what this really space turns out to be like. Then we said, okay, we'll just handpick some furniture. We wanted some of the furniture which defines the space. It is not necessary that you need to have this right at the beginning, but sometimes what happens is you saw this furniture or you saw this particular light fixture and you just have to have that light fixture, and your entire design revolves around it, or, you know, that is the grounding factor. So go ahead, put that in.
Also, a lot of the times what happens is, and this works when, you know, sometimes the clients come up with certain art pieces or certain piece of furniture that they have, and they say that, you know, we really want to use this in one of the spaces. So it actually works backwards, because, you know, it's such an important piece of art that it needs to sort of work in the space also. So it works the other way around with pieces that the client already owns.
Yeah. Accessories and decor, if like like I was saying, like, okay, that's an light piece that you really want, or there's a hanging plants that sort of defines a lot of greenery, not just potted plants, but hanging plants is what we really wanted. And
function, scale.
Scale, which sort of determines the right parameters, or it gives you the sense of proportion across the whole thing. And of course, in the very first slide of the word, which we said the word multifunctional, where you can see there are people standing or sitting or relaxing on the couch, or, you know, just a fun way of expressing. So this is what we said, we'll do this as a exercise, and we put this entire palette or a space together.
You realize that, you know, this entire process of mood boarding was not, you know, only limited to doing the initial mood board that typically, you know, we name as mood board. This is literally actually conceptualizing your design, moving forward with the form, deciding on the colors. So you're actually moving ahead and pretty much designing here your space. So imagine if I show something like this to a client, this gives him the sense of the entire space at one go in one image, gives him that entire vibe. You know, if you look at the image at the right, it's actually telling me that, you know, I'm going to give you a space which is going to be a space to chill, a space where you could just, you know, sit and read a book. You know, your son could be, you know, the 10-year-old son that we're talking about could be probably doodling or writing somewhere on a blackboard. You know, you have a collaborative space. We're also talking about some sort of a space in this which could be multifunctional, flexible. So you can get this, you know, from one image, you're able to actually give the entire design concept. So it's an entire way of doing storyboarding and storytelling, which then leads to the final design.
So there are tons of websites and apps and everything.
And I think you guys probably
you guys probably know more than us.
Many more than what we've mentioned.
But here. some of the ones that we like or we know friends use and we use, they are Morpholio Board and there is Canva, which is a good software or an app to put things together quickly. There's Photoshop. It's always the best, but yeah, there's Photoshop. There's Milanote, which is also like Canva, which has a ton of data where you can actually use to put your mood boards together. There's PowerPoint, which we use a lot, and there's a lot that you can do with PowerPoint, and we use PowerPoint almost on a day-to-day basis, at least.
Yeah.
That is always open.
But I think like apps like Canva, Milanote, all these have made mood boarding really easy.
Really easy, yeah.
And you're not spending too much time on the right proportions, the right fonts, because they've given you all these options, because those are important things.
Right.
And you don't always have this kind of time to do mood boarding. So then these apps actually make it very easy and simple.
Okay.
And of course, the amount of imagery, and again, for the imagery, what we feel is that you don't necessarily have to go to interior design websites or interior design kind of spaces or architectural spaces. You could have your mood board inspirations from your own travel photography, your own the things that you're looking around, or just simple things from nature, or so many other things could actually be inspiration from your starting point of mood board. And then you sort of add to the actual stuff. But I think the textures and the palette can actually come from anywhere. So you don't at all need to look at the typical design websites for the initial points.
Yeah, then you can be creative, or you can also source pictures from Instagram, Pinterest, Google, Shutterstock. I mean, there are so many places that you can get inspired by. I mean, there are ready mood boards, but I think the best way is when you start searching for something very specific and you piece them together. There's a lot of data that is already readily available, but when you start piecing them and putting them together, you really get a kick out of getting it together, getting that whole mood board. I mean, just like how we said, okay, we just give a 18 by 12 space to these guys, and we ended up making a whole mood board by ourselves. So it's a very fun thing to be doing. So yeah, so it's time to create our own mood board, guys, and that comes to the end of our long presentation.
But I hope you've gained something out of this, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have on anything specific, or I don't know, on the site itself.
So.
Wow, great. So thank you, Shilpa and Sameer, for that amazing trivia on how to conceptualize and create mood boards. I'm not a designer, but I really, I think I should participate in this had I knew these softwares. So let's get on to the Q&A session. Guys, whatever you guys want to ask, I think there were a couple of questions. One person asked that clients just want to, they just want CD and they don't want mood boards. So how to handle them?
No, that's what the whole point is, that the client will want everything, but it's up to you to start the discussion. I mean, just 2 days back, we went and met a client who just wanted an extension of a room. And he said, why don't you just make a sketch and just share it? I'm telling you that if you send a sketch, he will not understand it. So we just said, we just went 2 steps ahead, picked a picture saying that this is what the extension will look like. This is what there are a few colors. And then we still did the sketch and we sent it. It just took like extra 10 minutes. But we said, we are not going to give you any 3D or anything right now, but this is what it is. And he responded saying that with a thumbs up, saying, oh, this looks nice. So what happens is sometimes a client is unsure of what he wants or she wants. But when you put a mood board together before you do the 3D, it gives them an idea of what that space really wants it to be. and that is always a good point to start, your project, any project for that matter.
And there will definitely be clients who will want 3D, but the 3D comes at a much later stage. You will not start your project with a 3D until and unless you do not know what this client wants, until unless you don't ask all those questions, get all those answers, get the vibe that the whole project is giving you, what the space is all about, and then you reach that level. But before that, mood board is the way to go. So, you start with these kind of tools and then go to the more extensive tools.
So I also wanted to ask you guys that, with this whole SketchUp and 3D tools becoming so prevalent and easy to use, so is the mood board going to be something that's on the way out? Will people just, start doing 3D instead?
No, see, that's what we are saying. Every project that we do always has the mood board in the beginning. And that sheet of the mood board that gets approved. Let's say Firdaus came to us and said, you know what, Sameer, Shilpa designed this space for us. And we say, okay, you know what, these are 2 mood boards that we have, which we really think works very well. And you chose mood board number 1. Now, even though after we select the mood board, we'll do the 3D view or the SketchUp. But when I present that to you, the mood board will still be there as the slide number 1. Even later on when we present or we pick up materials, that same mood board will still be there. So during the entire 2 or 3 month process or 5 month process of the entire project, every time we go and select a material, that same mood board which was finalized or we selected will always be there to continuously hammer the choices that were made based on which the entire project is going ahead.
Although what I want to just add is that the definition of mood board can keep evolving. A mood board could have been 4 images in the past. But if you see the kind of mood board that we showed them right now in this presentation, there was an evolved version where, you could see a little bit more on the form, the space, the colors. The function got added into the mood board. A lot of the times function is lost in a mood board. If you see, it's only about materials and color. How do you really generate the third aspect or the user aspect in a mood board? So that was the aspect that we wanted to touch up in this presentation also, that how do you really bring in that human aspect into the mood board. So I think that definition of the mood board is really up to the designer and how they take it. And then there are many tools to, do it.
Also, I find that, when a mood board is presented, like I have been on the receiving end of many mood boards as a client, believe it or not, so when you get a mood board, there's a lot of furniture pieces which are presented in that. There's a lot of images which come from Pinterest and things like that. Like there'll be this furniture, that furniture. So how do you avoid, because later on you may want to change that furniture piece as a designer. How do you avoid the client getting stuck in a furniture piece? Because like you said, sometimes you really find a furniture piece that you're like, I have to have this in my project.
Yeah.
But the client will say, nahi, wo pehle wo wala mood board, I want that.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
And that is why you have to, you have to freeze a style, not the exact piece. Unless that exact piece is a particular piece that, you specifically want, or the client said that, this is what I love and I really want. Like we mentioned a couple of them in our presentation. Otherwise, what you're really defining is that this is the general style that we are talking about. The actual furniture will depend on where you're going to procure it from, where is it going to be made, is it even India, is it abroad, are you going to custom design it, is it a ready-made piece? So that is something that will, come as we evolve. But what you're really trying to freeze in the mood board is the general style. Like today, if I'm talking about a lot of wooden furniture, I will not go out with plastic at the end of it, or like just a completely different look and feel. So that's the whole idea that you want to freeze in the mood board.
But like what Shilpa said also, so for example, if in an initial discussion, if you showed a picture of a furniture to me, or in the mood board you saw a picture that furniture you really loved and said, dude, I really want that sofa. So now your mood board sort of evolves around it. So if there's something that grounds your design aspect. Now you want that sofa or that piece of furniture to be your highlight. Your light will be focused on it, or there'll be a model sitting on it, or whatever it is. But that furniture will be like the glam factor of the entire house. Now you're talking about whether furniture becomes your talking point. So the mood board is itself a springing point of the design basis with any client.
Great. So there are a lot of questions like, for instance, what is the role of a background in the mood board? So
There is no role a background plays. I mean, we used a background because we wanted to show a different kind of storyboarding process, which is unique, which is called layering, a layering process, which most mood boards which you see online or something that you do not see.
yeah,
Most
I
mood
did notice that it looked very different. It almost looked like a sort of picture, graphic design picture, as opposed to just a, what is normally done.
So when you see
really
something as a mood board, when you search on Pinterest or Google and you say interior mood boards, you will see a white background and you have these a collage of pictures or emotions. We wanted to show a way in which we used a background effectively, which also defined
the aesthetic.
The aesthetics, defined the architecture a little bit. It gave a color background.
Sometimes it also gives you the feeling of the texture of the space. If somebody wanted this to be a little unfinished or a rough kind of texture, then that background gives you that feel. Versus like if I had a completely white background with minimal images, it gives me that vibe. So I think you can generate a little bit of a vibe from the background.
I think there was a picture, there was a question that somebody posted that what if somebody wants a 3D demands or they ask me, "Mujhe 3D dikhao." Mood board.
Yeah.
So then in that, I think this would be a good example where you take an empty space which looks a third dimension and then you start putting things in it in a very perspective manner. Like you see a lot of photo collages that are being done these days as a medium of expression. And that would be a good way of expressing your mood board or your elements in a very quick manner before getting into the details and spending too much time on it.
So someone has asked about hospitality spaces, like when you have different areas of the hospitality space. So what do you do for those mood boards? You do one mood board per room or per space, or what do you do?
It
or
depends.
You just do one general.
It depends completely on how you want to storyboard your design. So it is not necessary that one space needs to have one mood board. It could have multiple mood boards as you go into the depth of it eventually. But there is one mood board which generally talks about the whole project on an overboard on the whole. And then as you go on a hospitality project, let's say now I'm only going to talk about the entrance area or only the room or one space, then the mood board for that can be something different.
And those individual areas focus more on the actual materials and the textures and the colors, but your holistic mood board, it connects the entire space, the entire vibe. Because you don't want that, you are in one big space and it shouldn't feel like I'm in 5 different projects also.
Yeah.
So what I got, the sense that I got from the mood board that you created was that it was like a story. It was not very more specific. It was more like a story, because a lot of people have asked this question that, how do you not clutter it and how do you kind of make it simple so the client understands? I think a lot of times, like I've heard this complaint from a lot of designers that, the client doesn't understand mood board. वो 10 बार मुझसे mood board बनाते रहता है and he just keeps changing the color and, this drives people crazy. Yeah. So I think what I got the sense from your presentation was that it's more like a overall theme, rather than trying to cram too many elements into that thing.
Yeah.
Right. If you go for just the key elements, which is better than letting the client, get to see everything, because then they start going, I think they get too fixated on details,
Yeah.
I've had that feedback a lot of times that he didn't like the pink, now he made me change it to green.
Yeah. See, the mood board, the whole idea of the mood board or the concept board is to freeze the main idea and then move forward into detailing slowly into the project. So you don't want to put in everything there either. So you want to freeze the main role, the main function, the main crux of your design, the main styling also, so that is sort of drilled into the head, of the entire team, yourself, the client, everybody who's on board. Even the budget comes into play, right, eventually. So it's not like every element at the mood board level and then the budget doesn't, play with the mood board at all. So it doesn't work then. So you will keep going back and forth, and sometimes you have to go and change also. You can't say that, oh, now that's it, 100% ho gaya. I'm not going to budge this board from year to year. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Komal, are you reading the questions? I think there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Moodboards.
So there was one more question, which is like, if someone wants to make a monochrome colored mood board, so then how does one make it?
It's the easiest, right?
See, that's what the whole, it's a matter of conviction. If you really feel like, that this space really requires a monochrome, that's any color, whether it is shades of only one color or if it's just black and white or whatever it is, and then you design the entire, express your design in that particular tone, then why not? I mean, that is your expression, that you as a designer, that space, or that is what is invoking. You will not just look at any room and say, "Arey, chalna aaj pink room bana dete hain, kya farak padta hai?" It's basically when you went to that space, or when you were talking to the client and suddenly there were these pictures that went back in the back of your mind and you're like, dude, you know what, this will look really nice. You're almost constantly thinking about it. Just put it out there on the paper. If it's monochrome, just go ahead and then just market it as hard as you can. Simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about the conviction, and also telling the client, why does this space need this, basically.
Yeah. This is really complicated question. I'm just going to read. A lot of clients can't understand mood board with textures and ideation. So at last, we have to end up with interior spaces, references to show them the vibe. But at the end, the exercise changes into an image of space. And then they start asking for the same furniture. So for us as designers, the exercise totally ends up with no result. How do you deal with this?
I think Firdaus had asked part of this question.
So this is what we do on projects. So there is one board which is a mood board. That mood board is generally, again, what we are saying is largely to do with the color tones, your emotions, and some pieces. But we also show your living room will look like this, your bedroom will look like this, the space will look like this. This is the kind of chair we want to use, or this is the kind of thing we want to use. We do use that. But what happens is that even though they don't understand the textures right now, and they say that, aapne wo picture dikhaya, wo hi chahiye. That is fine. But then there is also the mood board which will help you change the tone of the fabric. So let's say I chose a picture which was like a very Italian sort of a look. And using the same furniture, which is very leather, if we change it to a fabric, and if we use, instead of Italian marble, if we change the flooring to Bharat flooring, the entire appearance of it from a very plush goes to very, very chic. The entire appearance changes. So the mood board, you fall back to the mood board. They can choose the furniture or the design, but changing the material based on your mood board, that sort of defines or changes the whole language of the furniture that is you see later on. So it is not a futile exercise. You'll go back and forth, and when you finish the project, when you go back to the first concepts, you'll laugh at it and you'll say, dude, seriously, we started on what level and when we ended. But the only thing that will remain constant is the mood board, which is like, okay, the colors that we wanted, we got the colors, we got the theme that we wanted. So it's there.
There's a really good question about the budget also. Like, how do you match the budget to the mood board?
When you're mood boarding, at that point, what we feel is you don't really consider the budget into play that early in the stage. You will get to it by the stage 2, by the stage 3. But the first mood board, or the first imagery that you're generating, or the first thought process that you have about a concept design should be about the space, about the client, about your feeling of the aesthetic for that space. Now, frankly speaking, I can get the same vibe in 5 different budgets. All I have to do is change the material, the expense, the brand, a lot of the things. So that is your versatility as a designer.
Correct.
As to how I can give a similar vibe to the client. I can use a marble of 2,000 rupees a square foot or a tile of 100 rupees a square foot, but the color and the vibe can be the same.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't jump to the budget and kill the creativity first.
Correct.
Like you will get to it, and of course, it's a very important aspect, and your choice of brand, your choice of material, all that will change eventually.
Correct.
But that doesn't change the fact that my color vibe or my style or the vibe that I have to generate for that space has to change. But what we do feel is that that same person, I think, asked about the client's nature also and taste. I think that is important. You need to know that. I don't think you can design a space for somebody without knowing that person or their lifestyle. Then it is really a space that is being designed for myself. Then it's saying that I'm designing a space for Shilpa and Samir because, this is what I like. I don't know if this is what Firdaus or Komal likes, right? So.
Right. So there's one more question that how can you show what a lighting can create on your mood board? Is it possible to do that?
If your design is lighting centric, then you need to find those right images which defines the mood of the light. For example, if there is a piece of art that I want to use with a specific light just focusing on it like a museum, I will pick a picture like that and I will put it on the mood board and say, this is the kind of experience I want to create at night. So that is how now the person who's looking at it knows that, oh, you're talking about a lot of art. But then I can come and say, I don't have art at all. But then you can say, no, I want to create that kind of an ambience.
Or for example, imagine you were designing a very mood-driven fine dine restaurant. Now, if I'm doing that, my mood board will not be the kind of mood board I showed for Mill House, which is a very airy, a very day-like, a very fresh kind of a mood board, You will do a little bit, you'll go into the mood aspect of it in your mood board also, because then you're thinking that way. Your materials, your color palette, your textures will also sort of show that particular thing,
So another question is that sometimes clients just say that, I want something different, just different. They are not ready to open up at all and they're like, I want something different. How do we come up with something?
I think this is your chance to, push your aesthetic.
Just make a mood board and say, this is very different.
I think it's your chance to push your favorite aesthetic because, the client is clueless. Sometimes you kind of don't mind these clients because, they are open and they do not necessarily know what they want. So you can actually do, 2 of your favorite aesthetics that you love for that particular space.
I mean, it's a very good example is Firdaus. It's the room that we did. It was just that one room, the kids' room that we did where we used your tile also.
Yeah.
The entire house looks very different. It's very beige. It's very traditional marble and everything. And they said, "हमको कुछ अलग करना है." I said, "अलग क्या होता है? It should look different." I mean, different मतलब क्या? It should not look childish, but it should also look different. So then, when we used that material and we proposed the colors, light scheme, they really they just approved it at the first go because they really didn't think that it would. The colors or that particular thing would look so great.
So I would consider that as an opportunity. I mean, use it.
One question I have is like, with regarding to the stage of the project, like a lot of people before they even sign on the designer, वो लोग कहते हैं कि हमको mood board भेज दो. Would you to kind of get the client on board, would you give them a mood board before the or now y'all are like, listen,
I think a lot of it depends on one is what stage of your career you're at. 2 is how badly you want to do this project. 3 is, does that client relate to you? Like, or are you vibing with that client and you think like, it is really going to work well. So I think it's a very individual question and you have to, I'm not going to give a yes and no and be diplomatic on that answer that no, we'll never do it.
It's very different.
I think you'll have to do it based on, today if I get a dream project, wherever I'm in my career and we're getting this dream project to design, we may take a stab at it and say, what, let's give it a stab. Why not? But, if it is a project that you feel like, there's no design challenge to this, no, let's not go an extra mile for it. Let them sign us up and then we'll take it forward. So I think you have to take that decision based on client to client and what that project might give you as a designer.
Also, if it's the client who has come through reference, like if Firdaus has recommended Komal and then Komal calls us up and says, you know what, we want to do our room, but I don't know. Firdaus has highly recommended you, so can you show me something? Then we said, okay, you know what? I mean, it's Firdaus is recommending, you know, he's putting his neck on the line for us. So I mean, we say, okay, why not? So it depends. It's very dependent on when you speak to the client, you kind of get that first vibe what they are looking for. Are they just fishing? Are they just looking for options, and then they'll make up their mind because they have that right to, right?
See,
So
so I think the try and talk, try and have conversations with the client, with the prospective client also. Like just have a half an hour phone call conversation with them. You'll start getting the vibe.
Cool.
So someone is asking that do you have to keep the two boards separate, the material board and the mood board, or how do you present it to the client?
So again, it is a little bit project driven. I think eventually most projects do need a separate material board also. Initially you'll start off with a mood board. At some point in between, you combine the two, the concept and the mood board and the material board. And then by the time you are, halfway into the project, you do need to have a separate material board for clarity. That, these are my final materials and this is a final material board, because you are signing off on certain materials and you do not want to keep changing. So, we as designers are very, the way our practice runs is we're very clear that, once you sign off on certain materials, you do not keep going back to the site and changing something a million times, because we've frozen something. So the idea is to try pushing that to the client also, that let's sign off on a material board also, which correlates to the original mood board. Maybe with certain changes, and then you sort of move forward into your documentation, working drawings.
Right. Okay. I think I'll be just taking the last question now, since it's already an hour.
I think there was one question with regards to the space, so I just thought I'll take it.
Sure.
Somebody asked, is it just one space of 12 feet by 18 feet available, which we have to convert into 2 rooms or 2 rooms of the same dimension? No. There is no 2 rooms. The original house that they are living is a 2-bedroom bungalow. We've just given that as a brief. This is just an outhouse next to the bungalow, and it's one single space. Now it's up to you how you want to play with that one single 12 feet by 18 feet mood board space,
So my question was, someone asked, in realistic 3D rendering trends, does conceptual SketchUp views work well along with the mood board?
yeah,
Definitely, yes.
Right.
I think SketchUp has a lot of potential, the SketchUp views. Even just internally within our team, we use it a lot. Before it even gets presented to the client, we work with hand sketches and SketchUp models. So I think a combination of these two really work very well before you actually put out something final to the client also. It helps you understand the scale, the proportion, the massing, so much.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much, Shilpa and Sameer. So I would like to tell everyone that thank you for joining us, and I shall be emailing you all the details regarding the contest, which you all will be designing your own mood boards as per the brief. So that brief will be coming from my email ID, and that will be shared with you all tomorrow. Everyone should get it before 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you don't get it, you can just DM us on Instagram. And so you will get time for a week. And on 7th of August, you'll have to submit your mood board. And Shilpa and Sameer will be judging the same. And then the best winner will win.
We're very, very excited to look at something cool, because I think that the stuff that gets generated right now is amazing, the content, some of it. And we're really looking forward to some very interesting ideas.
Yeah, so we are not asking you to, restrict yourself to anything. Just take your imagination wild. It's just create.
And PowerPoint is fine, no?
So,
I think we've
decided that it's
we are going
one
to...
slide.
Komal has given the requirements.
Sorry, Komal.
Yeah,
My bad.
sorry. So basically everyone has to submit in PDF, and please don't share files above 8 MB, otherwise it becomes really heavy and you are going to just block my Gmail account.
Make it 5 MB then.
Yeah, 5 to 8
Better,
MB.
better.
Yeah, and make sure you all just send one file and not multiple files. So anyways, I'll be sharing all the details of what you all have to do. And someone asked, can we get this presentation? I mean, I don't think we can email you all this presentation, but definitely, if you see, we have shared mood boards, what they have presented on our Instagram page. So you all can go through it.
We will be happy to answer any questions also on the Instagram, or wherever you want to message us. Feel free. Our email address is also there. So
yeah, you can either ask questions on Studio Osmosis or DM us on Bharat Flooring. Okay, great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
thank
you so much. Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for this presentation. And even I learned a lot. Yeah, maybe I'm also going to become an interior designer now.
I'm telling you, we got so kicked out about it. We first drew that 18 by 12 space. Then from there, we ended up doing this entire exercise. It was very good fun.
But,
it looked fabulous. It really looked fabulous.
Yeah, but I think it's a great idea for you to do this class itself. The idea, it's a very small aspect, but it turns out to become such a big aspect. So I think the topic was a great one that you picked.
So thank you so much, guys, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Komal. Thanks, Firdaus. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Hope you all enjoyed.
Bye. See you. Looking forward to your mood boards. Bye.
Bye-bye.